Greetings, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to today's webinar presented by HCL Software. This is the first in a series of several webinars we will be conducting over the next couple of months to help inform prospects and customers about some of the exciting things happening here at HCL. Today's topic will be focused on looking at where you are in your digital transformation journey. More specifically, where are you in your journey around app development with a focus on integration? Do you have apps currently in production that you need to maintain and improve with more data? Are you in the middle of an app development project with requirements to integrate into multiple backends or new backends? Or is this your first app project and you are currently in the planning stages of your integration approach? Regardless of where you are at, you realize you have started to hit the wall of complexity. Your development project has slowed down as a result. You've lost momentum and velocity. And over the course of this webinar, we'll look at how HCL's Volt MX platform can help prevent you from losing that speed and how it can help keep you moving forward in your journey. Our series of webinars will cover a range of topics of how the Volt MX platform can help you reduce that complexity and maintain your project velocity as you expand your application footprint. These topics will cover the entire SDLC, ranging from creating integration services into your enterprise backend to developing applications in a low-code fashion while using patented technology to enhance the experiences you want to deliver. With Volt Iris, our visual application design tool, you can design the screens for your phones, tablets, wearables, and PWA apps using a drag and drop approach. You can also create your application logic and tie in your integration services also using a drag and drop approach without having to write code. Using Volt Iris, you can also build a complete portfolio of reusable components as application building blocks to help jumpstart your development teams on future projects. Other topics will include our patented technology Volt Flare, our secret sauce, where you no longer need multiple code languages or even multiple code bases to create a tailored experience for the exact device or browser you wish to support, without compromising on quality, without compromising on capability, all while leveraging the full power of the hardware in your hand. It helps to future-proof your investment for future versions of device operating systems and browsers, whether that's a progressive web app using geolocation services, or whether that's a native app talking to IoT sensors. Volt Flare allows you to harness all the device features you want to deliver the experience your users and customers will need. And when it comes time to enhancing that experience for the next generation, we'll also take a look at some of the SDK capabilities available to take advantage of new technologies like virtual reality or augmented reality, blockchain, and AI services. For our session today, we'll look at how our Volt Foundry middleware, with its robust set of services and integration capabilities, helps our customers keep that velocity going forward, reduce their integration complexity, and deliver real value to their customers and ultimately their bottom line. So you're out there on your app journey, whether you're starting out for the first time or whether you have multiple apps already in production. You will be a part of this multi-layered architecture you see here. You'll have needs for exposing your enterprise systems of record via an API layer. You'll have requirements for transforming that data, for accessing the data via a common object model, for engaging with and notifying your users and customers, for gathering analytics and reporting data. And at the core, you'll have requirements for delivering it all as a secure solution. Peeling back the layers of this solution, it's much like peeling back the layers of an onion. It's more than just building an app. You have your myriad of apps, devices, browsers, and back-end systems at either end, and a various mixture of products and platforms in between that act as the glue, if you will, between those back-end systems of record and the users on the glass. Whether you have implemented some of these back-end services or platform services, or whether you've adopted some of the middle services, or perhaps you've patterned your solution after the various middle components by implementing your own features and functions, essentially this layered architecture is your environment. And you have an app. It could be a Salesforce application talking to an SAP backend, both of which are talking to your homegrown database. Regardless of your approach, these services all come together and help deliver value to the business to meet your needs. But something has changed. And change always happens. As the changes move from concept to reality, you have the various stakeholders responsible for delivering the value of the app to the business getting involved and exerting their influence. You have currently deployed apps requiring new complexity via new functionality and new integrations. You need to make sure your data remains secure. In conjunction with these new requirements, this is where you start to hit that wall of complexity. Sometimes this may require, or it will absolutely require, additional middleware in order to adapt to these changes. Here we see three simple examples, such as your current application needs to be able to tie in to your new Salesforce marketing automation system. Your SAP integration for product managers needs to be able to include additional information from your analytics environment. And with all these new integrations, a new identity is required for access, and your IT security protocols must be adhered to. This appears to be a simple set of changes that can occur at any given moment, but behind the scenes, it's often not. How do you take a different interface point, like an analytics platform or an SAP BAPI, and make that more easily consumed by a separate developer team, oftentimes lacking the subject matter expertise of that other system? How do you expose those other systems securely without letting protected credentials run loose in the wild? How does someone like a medical services provider delivering critical wound management care in a mobile app ensure that all sensitive patient information is protected and all HIPAA security protocols are followed? How does a large energy company like ENGIE, with over 60 billion euros in annual revenue and over 170,000 employees worldwide, who is the #1 independent power producer in the world, let alone the energy company for the entire country of France, how do they interface across their internal business units and departments, each with their own systems of record and systems of authentication, and still make that data more easily accessible to a wider audience within the greater organization? On top of that, how do you rapidly adapt and solve customer logistical challenges introduced by unforeseen circumstances like COVID? What may seem like a simple change on the surface can have a significant impact to the development process and the greater org at large, especially when it comes to securing data. Architecturally, these requirements affect those different layers of the architecture and areas of the IT environment. They affect the SAP integration, the identity access requirements, the storage requirements, the data security requirements. Oh, and by the way, Samsung just released a new device with a slightly different screen resolution and the latest version of the Android operating system that also needs to be supported for this app. How do you ensure that you keep up with these changes and not affect your current iOS deployment? As you can see, what on the surface appears as a straightforward and simple requirement immediately adds complexity. Do these new business requirements add new resource needs, from SAP BAPI programming to Salesforce marketing cloud expertise? Do these new requirements need new knowledge bases to be added, or new experiences to be included in the front-end applications? Does your iOS developer team understand Android design and development, or vice versa? And how do you ensure that the app not only works today, but next year when Apple and Google release their new versions of their operating systems? For example, one of our customers is Michael's Retail Stores. Michael's is the largest arts and crafts specialty retailer in North America. With more than 50,000 employees, they operate more than 1,250 stores in 49 US states and Canada, bringing in over $5 billion annually in sales. Their app in the app stores has millions of downloads. How do they handle the changes to that user experience in their mobile app when they've completely shifted to a new engagement and marketing backend like Salesforce? Users do not want to have a disjointed experience. They don't want to have to relearn how to do what they've already been doing for months or even years. How does an arts and crafts store adjust to the new limited contact challenges imposed by COVID? Another customer of ours, Velco, is a US-based utility customer. They have an immediate need to keep their field service employees engaged and working, but still need to maintain all COVID safety protocols. Power outages and electricity demands do not wait in a pandemic. They need to be able to survey their employees' COVID tests, track any reported positive cases, manage their available resources as a result, and they need to implement it quickly to keep their organization functioning to deliver their services to the electricity customers of Vermont. Take the case of SiriusXM, the satellite radio provider for US and Canada that also has a global internet audio streaming presence reaching over 100 million subscribers annually. SiriusXM needed to simply extend their customer self-service experience from the desktop web to a mobile phone. And not just iPhones, but also Android phones. The challenge for them is time. They need to do this for their subscribers now before they have their web services layer fully built out. How straightforward is it to mobilize that self-service process, access a legacy backend environment, and still make it a good user experience across both iOS and Android platforms? You cannot just put some pages into a phone view and keep other pages in the desktop mode and call it a day. Mobile users' expectations are very high these days. Working with a legacy backend to integrate to also requires a different IT skill set. Naturally moving to responsive web may be the initial approach to address the user experience, but that backend is changing in a year. What additional IT resources will be required not only today, but next year? Every one of these projects is facing a multiple set of integration endpoints, working on a very compressed timeline, and has a potential for having to purchase multiple software solutions to accomplish these objectives. The true complexity of what your current situation is, how you may approach some of these requirements, and their related business problems to solve is probably best illustrated here using a sample set of logos. Those back-end services, those platform layers, those 6 layers I spoke about earlier, can be organized using several products from these various companies. You may have some of their solutions already in place, serving these needs to provide some of these layers. You may not have all of these layers covered in some cases, or in other cases, you may have 3, 4, or even 5 of these different solutions deployed in your architecture. That complexity is reflected in the amount of people, the amount of IT resources required for these solutions to not only make those changes happen, but to support and maintain the solution once it's in place. All these products serve a specific purpose and are all useful for that purpose. But each specialty product often needs its own set of specialty resources to maintain it. Each product or solution will have its own subject matter experts. Each will have its own support model. Each may even require a specific architecture to support. Many of them require a specific IT skill set, whether it's coding language expertise, network topology and design, or industry-specific domain knowledge such as healthcare or energy or retail. Each will have its own design approach, its own implementation approach, source code that needs to be supported, and then when it comes time to put it all together, how best to fit the different pieces in order to work harmoniously. And then when things break, the pathway for troubleshooting often becomes more complex and takes a longer time to resolve. A user reports a problem saving their data, but depending upon where that data is in the chain, it can uncover quite a bit of work that is required to get things working harmoniously again. With Volt MX, we can help change that. Using our Foundry middleware, we can select an adapter from our library that allows a developer to configure properties rather than write code in order to access and use their identity provider or integrate into their enterprise backend data sources. No longer does a developer have to write lines and lines of code to manage the authentication, the authorization, and the token management for their application. No longer does a developer have to write lines and lines of code to introspect into their Salesforce backend, to expose their Salesforce data, consume those data objects, access that data, transform that data, and then finally present it to the user. Using a low-code approach by exposing configurable properties instead of requiring front-end heavy coding using an encyclopedia of APIs and third-party libraries, the development time savings can be significant. The primary benefit is that Volt MX helps the solution move from a complex environment stack of companies, logos, and product solutions to a set of just words that are features and functionality that are already built into the environment. At each of those layers we described earlier, we already have functionality built in to solve those same problems. The reduced complexity and resource requirements show immediately. Now you may say, Gundar, that's great, I totally understand that. But we have a corporate standard analytics solution. It's an excellent tool and we are required to use it. Or you may say, we already have an existing marketing automation solution for delivering our push notifications. You know what? Great, no problem. That's one of your layers already solved. You have the in-house resources, the expertise is available. Let's go ahead and use that and remove the complexity in the other layers when rolling out new apps to new devices using this far more integrated and simplified approach. The net result is that there are benefits to this approach, but don't just take it from us. Gartner has performed some analysis and produced white papers on the subject. In essence, the bulk of the development effort for building an application is in the integration of that application to the various back-end systems in the enterprise. Their research has indicated that as much as 75% of the development effort is in the back-end integrations. Using a platform like Volt MX, with our low-code approach to integration, we have seen gains as much as 60% faster when it comes to developing applications. That's 60 with a 6-0. No more complicated stack of products to maneuver, no more numerous support interactions to manage, and a significant reduction in the IT resources needed to maintain the solution just to keep the lights on. Using Volt MX, Michael's Retail Stores was able to implement self-checkout and curbside pickup in their mobile app experience, including voice integration, in a matter of weeks, not several months, to help support the new ways of interacting with their customers during a viral pandemic. This is the value that using a platform like Volt MX can help provide. Using Volt MX, Velco was able to create an internal application to help their employees track their COVID testing status. This is a good example of one of those unforeseen circumstances that they needed to rapidly adapt to. With Volt MX, they developed, built, tested, and deployed their mobile app in a week. I'll repeat, 7 days from design to production. Using Volt MX, SiriusXM was able to deliver a customer self-service experience that not only adapted to the different devices and browsers in the ecosystem, but also integrated into their older legacy back-end environment while their API layer was still a year out and wrapping up development. Rolling this solution out provided them an annual cost savings of over $250,000 per year, savings they would not have realized had they waited. Alternative solutions in each case, using the traditional approach of a varied stack of products, also would have taken much longer and cost much more to maintain in each situation. So what we'd like you to do after we wrap this up, well, let's just go ahead and take care of it now. Let's go ahead and get our phones out. Use the camera to navigate using the QR code that you see on your screen, and let's get a demo to you. We look forward to hearing from you. We want to find out what you have in store for your digital transformation journey. We hope you will come join us again on our next webinar, and thank you very much for spending time with us today to learn more about the benefits of the Volt MX platform.